Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 55 in our incredible new tutorial series where you are unleashing the power of your Raspberry Pi Pico W. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee, poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sunfounder. Sunfounder is actually sponsoring this most excellent series of video lessons. And in this class, we will be using the Kepler kit for Raspberry Pi Pico W. Now, most of you guys probably already have your gear, but if you don't, take a look down in the description. There is a link over to Amazon. You can hop over there and pick your kit up. And believe me, your life and my life are going to be a whole lot easier if we are working on identical hardware. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's talk about what I am going to teach you today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my solution to the homework assignment I gave you in lesson number 54, which was to create a running rainbow pattern on the NeoPixel using the Raspberry Pi Pico W. Now, if you remember last week, let's come over here and let's look at this. Last week, what we did was we created a rainbow pattern in which each one of the eight pixels had the same rainbow pattern, and we were circling around the HSV color wheel so that in tandem, in unison, the 8 pixels were demonstrating the HSV color curve, which makes the rainbow, okay? Then what your homework assignment was for today was to generate a running rainbow, where if you stopped at any point in time, you would have a rainbow between the pixels in space. So this would be like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, magenta, and then back to red. So the rainbow pattern would be running this way, and that entire rainbow would then be cycling in time, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's what your homework assignment was. Well, how do we do this? Well, first of all, we have our old friend, the HSV color wheel, and then we also have 8 pixels. So we've got to think about in time, we are circling around the HSV color wheel, and then also we have something going on in the space domain. So here we've got the HSV color wheel. I think what I probably need to do is I need to draw out, let's see if this will work. That is not very good. Let's go like this. And then what we want to draw is each pixel. So that's like pixel 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So those are our pixels. Pixels 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for a total of 8 pixels. Okay. Now let's think about this first pixel. Let's think about the first pixel, pixel 0. What do we want this to do? We want this to go from 0 to 360. So each time through the loop, we're going to increment 1 degree. We're going to go 0 to 360 on this pixel in a loop. Now, before, all the pixels together were going from 0 to 360, but if you stopped it at any time, you would have the same color on all the pixels. So what we want is we also want a rainbow as we're coming this way. We want a rainbow. If we stopped, there would be a rainbow pattern going this way. Now, this is the way to think about it. If you had 360 pixels, this first one would start at 0. This one would start at 1. This one would start at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 degrees up to the 360th pixel would start at 360. And then you would have 1 degree separation rainbow across the 360 pixels. What is the problem? We only have 8 pixels. So our rainbow in X cannot jump in 1 degrees as we would like. It would jump in what? Well, it would jump by 360 divided by 8. Is that right? Yeah. And then that is equal to 45. And so the increment in x between adjacent pixels is 45 degrees. And so if this pixel starts at 0 and loops around, the next pixel should start at 45, the next pixel at 90, and then at 135, and then that would be 180, okay? And then this would be 235, and then this would be 270, and then I think I messed up somewhere along the way. No, that would be 270, and then this would be 315. Okay, and then 315 plus 45 would take you back to 360, which sort of resets to 0. Okay, so what we want is we want each one of these pixels to go through together the rainbow, the color wheel, in 1 degree increments this way. Each time, each one increments by 1 degree, but this one starts at 0, this one starts at 45, this one starts at 90, 135, 180, and so forth. So then you're going to have a rainbow this way, and then that rainbow is going to be spinning in time. Does that make sense? I sure hope it does. But I think that is what we are going to try to do. And so what we need to do is we need to come over here, and let's see if we can get ready to be doing some coding. Give me just a second here to get a little Windows management done. And I need to do a little bit of Windows management here. So give me just a second. I think I'm ready to go. Okay, we're just going to start from scratch here. And so what we want is when we are here, we're going to step around this in degrees, right? We're going to step around this in degrees. And so what we need to do is we need to use our little function that we developed that goes from HSV, the degrees on the HSV, to RGB. And we saw last week to RGB. And we saw last week how we have a little routine that does that. So we are going to come over here to the most excellent www.toptechboy.com. You'll use this. Let's make sure you see that. You will use this happy little search icon that is behind my head, this happy little search icon, and here you will search on something like convert HSV to RGB. That will take you to this page, and we can come down here and grab this function. And what this function does is you pass it a degree from the HSV color wheel, and it will return to you the R value, the G value, and the B value that you need to use in order to get that color on a pixel. So we need to snag that because that's going to make our life a lot easier without us having to think a lot about it. And we're going to paste that into our blank program. Now we're ready to jump in here and start coding. So the first thing we need to do, also let me just remind you, in case you don't have that right fresh in your mind, the RGB or the NeoPixel strip has 3 leads. The red goes to 5 volts, which is over here on physical pin 40 on the Raspberry Pi Pico W. And then the black lead, which is on the other side, goes to pin 38, which is a ground. And then the center pin, the center wire, which is the yellow one, it goes to GPIO pin 0, which is physical pin 1. So that's how you hook it up. And I have to remind you every time that you can control pretty much an arbitrary number of RGB NeoPixel, NeoPixels in an array. You can make a really, really long string of these things, but you cannot power them from the Raspberry Pi Pico W. So if you're going to have more than 8, do not connect them to 5 volts on the Pico W. You need an external voltage supply, 5 volts DC, that can drive the current required for your long strip of RGB NeoPixels. And so that's just it. If you're going to do more than 8, you need a separate power supply. But we're going to demonstrate all the concepts with 8 so that you can understand how to do it. Then separate power supply and connect all your grounds together. The Raspberry Pi Pico W, the NeoPixel strip, and the power supply. All 3 of those grounds need to be connected together. Okay, I explain that every week, and I just want to make sure no one comes in and tries to hook up a really long string of these things to the Pico W and burn out the Pico W. Okay, now back to the code view. We have this function called getRGB. We type in it degrees, or we send to it degrees, and then it returns to us the R value and the G value and the B value that will create that color, that angle on the color wheel. Now, this creates a number between 0 and 1 for R, for G, and for B, but the NeoPixels want a number between 0 and 255. And so let's go ahead and modify that here. So I'll say times 255 times 255 times 255. Now also the NeoPixel wants an integer, so I'm going to go ahead and convert each one of these numbers to an int, and that way what I get back from the function I can directly use. So those should all be ready to go. Now we are going to be using the library, the NeoPixel library, so we're going to want to import NeoPixel like that, and then we're going to be using a GPIO pin. So from machine we want to import pin, and then we're going to put some delays in here, so we're going to want to import time like that. Okay, so now we want to set up our NeoPixel. First thing we need to do is tell it which pin we're using. Well, the Pix pin is GPIO pin 0, as I showed you in the setup up there. And then what is the Pix size? Pix size we have 8 pixels in this particular array. If you had 360, it would be 360, but don't power it from the Raspberry Pi Pico W. Okay, now let's create our NeoPixel object. I'm going to call it Pix, and that is equal to NeoPixel, the library that we just imported, dot NeoPixel like that. Pay attention to case. We've got to tell it which pin. The pin is the method pin and Pix pin like that. Okay, and then how big is our NeoPixel strip? It is Pix size like that. Okay, now we've got that created. Let's just see if we can go in and just generate the rainbow pattern like we had last week. Let's just see if we can go in and generate that rainbow pattern like we had last week. And so I'm going to say while true, I'm going to create a loop. When it's true, true, true is always true. We've created an infinite loop. And then I'm going to step through it. I'm going to step through the color wheel. I'm going to step through the HSV color wheel 1 degree at a time. So I'm going to say for DEG degree in range, I am going to start at 0. I'm going to go up to 360, but it'll stop one before that, which would be 359, which is what we want it to do. And then I'm going to go in steps of 1. Okay. And I need my colon, my semicolon, like that. Now I'm going to get the color. So my color is going to be get RGB of what? Of degree. So it's going to get the RGB value for 0 degrees, 1 degree, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on all the way around. So we're going to get all those RGB values one at a time. And then what are we going to do? We are going to fill the NeoPixel with color. Okay, and then we're going to pix.write so that it actually sends it to it, and then we're going to time.sleep of 0.1, and I'm going pretty fast, so no telling how many mistakes I've made, but I will ask you as a courtesy to me to hold your breath. Oh, object tuple is not callable. What is that nonsense in line 41 and 37? Okay. That is rather strange. 41, let's go back to 37. It doesn't like what I forgot to put int. And then, man, that was some sort of cat rodeo there, wasn't it? Okay, let's try it again. Boom, look at that. Okay, so what do we have? We have each pixel cycling through the HSV color space 1 degree at a time, and they are going together. So in time, I am generating the rainbow. But how is this not solving the homework assignment? All of the pixels are together. So at any time when I look this way, I don't have a rainbow. I have a rainbow in time, but I don't have a rainbow in space. So what do I want? I want this one to begin the rainbow at 0, this one to begin the rainbow at 45, this one to begin the rainbow at 90, and that way I'll have a rainbow across this way, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and then I need to do a little bit of Windows management. So give me just a second here. This will take me just a second. I got a lot of windows going on here, so don't hate on me about this, okay? I need to get this all set up. Okay, then I need to come back over here. Almost done. There. Okay, now I got it. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I am stepping through the degrees. But at each degree, I need to not just step through the degrees, I need to what? I need to step through the pixels. Okay, so now I need to say for pixnum in range, and I need to start at which pixel? 0. And then I need to go to 8, which will stop one before that, which is 7. So if I go from pixel 0 to pixel 7, I will address all of the pixels. And so that works out. And then I'm going to go 1 pixel at a time. Now what do I need to do? Well, I need to say that I'm going to say that my degree is going to be equal to the degree value that I'm starting at, like 0, 1, 2. I'm going to do that, but then I'm going to add plus pixnum times 45. Okay, so now let's think about this. Pixnum starts at 0, and so the first one is just going to be degree, which is going to be 0. Then the next pixnum is going to be 1, and that's going to be the 0 plus 1 times 45, which is 45. Now the next pixnum will be 2, and that will be 0 plus 2 times 45 is 90. So you see, these are the starting points that I am generating for each pixel, and then it will go up to the 235 for the last pixel. So you see, I'm generating that rainbow this way by adding this for loop. Okay, by adding this for loop. Now what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to say color is equal to get RGB of what? I got to think about of what? It is of my degree. Okay, and so it will get it for each one of the pixels. So I'm gonna calculate my degree, and then I'm going to get the color value associated with my degree. So again, this part of the code, I'm cycling across the pixels, and then this part of the code, I'm cycling through the color wheel. Now stop and think about it, and I think that you will see that it works. Now what I need to do is I need to set it pix of j, or I mean pix of pixnum is equal to color. All right, so I'm setting, in this thing, I'm setting the color of each one of the pixels in this loop. And then when I go out of the loop, then I increment the degree, and then I calculate each pixel again. And so I don't want to show it inside of this for loop. I want to show it outside of this for loop. So then I'll come back here when I have all 8 of the pixels set, then I'll show it. I'll increment the degree, I will set each pixel, and then I will show it. Okay, I hope this makes sense. It's really very simple in my mind, but I hope I am making it clear. So now what we are going to do is we are going to come here, and outside of the for loop, you see I've unindented it. I don't want to do that for sure. Okay, that was from our old program. So now outside of this loop, but inside of this loop, what do I want to do? I want to write it, and then I want to sleep. Okay, so now this loop is going to create a rainbow this way. And then this loop is going to take that rainbow and it's going to step it through. It's going to step it through the color wheel. Man, this is crazy. Could this actually work? First of all, leave a comment down below. I'm hoping I'm saying it clear, but let's see what happens. I will need you to hold your breath this time. Is it doing something? It might actually be doing something. Yeah. Ooh, local variable reference before assignment. So what is that not like in line 43? Ah, I see. What happens is as I'm going through this, like if I'm starting at 270, or if I'm starting with a degree, let's say I'm starting with a degree of 350, and then if I add 45 to it, that last pixel is trying to go around the color wheel again. And so what I need to do is I just need to say if degree is greater than or equal to 360, if my degree is greater than or equal to 360, then I will say my degree, let's correct that, my degree is equal to my degree minus 360, because this thing like 361 is the same as 1. So if I get to 361, I want to subtract the 360, so I just start again. So you go 359, and then you go to 0, and then you go to 1, and then you get to 359, you go back to 0. So 360, you reset it to 0. So if my degree is greater than or equal to 360, then you subtract 360 from it. Okay, and that's why I'd sent that function a number greater than 360, and it caused it to crash. Okay, let's try this now. That was going a little bit slow, I think. No, that's probably about right. So let's watch this again. Hold your breath. Okay, so this started red, it went purple, and now it is, I'm trying to think, is this thing really moving or not? It is moving. It is moving, but it is moving a little bit slow. So I'm going to make this 0.01 so we can see it. Now, while it's going too slow, let's watch. Do you see at every point I have the rainbow? Okay, you see the green, yellow, red, purple. But then as this goes to yellow, I go yellow, red. So you see across here I have the rainbow. At every instant in time, I have the rainbow in X. And then that rainbow is spinning through the HSV color wheel, but every point I have a rainbow, and then each pixel is cycling through the rainbow. And so that's kind of neat. It's just that is a little bit slow. So let's see if we can go a little bit faster. Oh yeah, that's what we want. Do you see that? So let's watch. Let's watch this. Okay, do you see we go red, and then it's going through to blue, green, yellow, orange, red, purple, aqua. You see, and then you can see that then the rainbow is kind of moving this way, if you will. Do you see how the purple is coming here to purple, and then purple, 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 or if we can try to grab like yellow, 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 yellow. So you see the colors are shifting through. It's just like, but at every point you have a rainbow. I just found this incredibly interesting and incredibly fun, and I really want to get a 360 pixel strip and put it outside and have this rainbow spinning this way and moving that way and doing the whole thing. But I think this is just really, really really fun and super cool. Well, you guys can play around with this and see if you can do some more patterns that are interesting, and then post your results as a homework assignment. Either show me that you've done this or show me that you've done something more interesting than this, or maybe a couple of you guys will get a bigger NeoPixel array and show us some really, really exciting stuff. But this is going to kind of wrap up our work with the NeoPixels, because what we've shown you is we've shown you how to control them in X and how to control them in time. And so you can kind of, like, the world is your oyster at this point. You know everything that you need to know in order to go out and do some really, really exciting things with your NeoPixels. Okay, guys. I really hope that you are enjoying taking these classes as much as I am making them. Want to give a shout out to you guys who are standing with me on Patreon. You're the guys that keep this great content coming. You can also help me by giving me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure that you subscribe. Look at that. Is that a swimmer? There's a guy swimming up there. He is moving on too. Look at that. Do you think he belongs to the boat, or do you think he's going to hijack the boat? Let's see. I think, man, that's amazing. Have you ever tried to get into a rowboat or a canoe from the water? That was pretty amazing. I'm assuming that if he didn't belong there, the other guy would have hit him with the paddle. So we're going to assume that everything is copacetic at this point, but I digress. I think I was saying, when you subscribe, make sure that you ring that bell so that you'll get notified when future lessons drop. And as always, most importantly, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people doing engineering and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.